Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Q&A video answer segment type of video. Going to continue with the Q&A videos. This one will be part 6 for the Walking Dead Season 5 questions. All right, good stuff. So I thought it was a good time to go ahead and start doing this again, since I'm running down with the different topics I've had. I've had enough topics to pretty much go through every day since the end of The Walking Dead season 4, but I don't have that many going forward. I have a few, but not too many. So if you guys have any, please send them to me. I kind of talked about this in the channel updates video earlier today, so I won't talk too much about that. But basically, want to continue with these. Going to continue with these, and they're good to do to break things up for questions that wouldn't normally be a whole video on. So the first question comes from YouTube username JC, and he says, how good would the show have been if Shane and Rick were dealing with the governor together? The show would have killed Daryl off ages ago, he says. Maybe that's true. I don't know if they would have kept Shane around. I don't know if they would have kept Daryl around. One or the other, I guess. That's not a bad way to look at it. I think that makes sense, that they would have done that had they have kept Shane around. But I think the whole thing about season 2 and what they did with season 2 really was to kind of look at it like the group needed one leader, and they were still kind of figuring out who that was going to be. And when it came to tough choices, Rick became the leader for the group from Shane, and essentially with the whole Lori thing, it wasn't going to work out. So, and also too, with The Walking Dead, they go through lots of different story arcs. We get into something and then we blow past it and then we see something different. So we wouldn't want to have a reoccurring theme like that all the way through the whole series. And it makes sense. Like from the comic book series, for example, there's only a few survivors that are around from like the absolute beginning all the way through to the point where we're at right now in the series. So most survivors won't make it. So, I don't know. It would have been cool to see Shane against the governor, see kind of how that would go with Rick and everything. That'd be cool. But, we got to see enough of John Bernthal season 2, season 1. He had a ton of parts. So that was cool. And then they decided, they're going to move on from there. So there's nothing wrong with that. Next question comes from TheGamingMuffinzz. And he or she asks, do you think Rick could turn bad sometime in season 5 or later in the series? Well, Rick, from our perspective, could never really turn bad. No matter what he does, he's doing it to protect his group. I don't view him as a character that would ever really turn on his group. He may be bad to others out there, like for example what happened with Joe's group. To Joe, Rick was a bad guy because he had killed a member of his group without even knowing them or anything, or even giving them a chance. So it depends which side you're on. If you're on Rick's side, he's the greatest guy in the world. If you're against him, yeah, he could be a bad guy. He could be. I'm sure with the guys at Terminus, when eventually, if they do defeat the people at Terminus, I'm assuming they will, otherwise we won't have a show. I'm sure to them he's going to be a bad guy. So it's kind of like survival of the fittest. It's like in the jungle. It's like when resources are that scarce. Is anyone really a bad guy? Is one lion bad because it kills, I don't know, something else to eat it, or this type of survival of the fittest type of thing. So Rick, like just looking at him as a good guy or bad guy, is kind of a simplistic way to view it. It's more complex than that. And I think when you're dealing with limited resources, everyone essentially becomes a bad guy, because morals and ethics are a privilege of a rich society. I'll say that again. Morals and ethics are a privilege of a rich society. So you can look into that. You can read into that as much as you want. But the reason why we have these things and we're able to have these things is because we have so much right now. When we run out of oil, when we have more struggles in the future, the human race, you're going to see a lot more bad guys, evolve out. So, and that's just what's going to happen. Survival of the fittest. One lion is not bad because he kills, some animal to eat it for food, right? And that's just the way I see it. So, but I think he's going to become more like what we saw at the end of season 4, like willing to do absolutely anything more savage. Yeah, I think he'll become more savage if that's what you're referring to. So good question. Next question is from Ryan Rossi, and he asked, do you think we'll see any new relationships in season 5? If so, who? I've kind of talked about this a little bit before, so I won't focus on this too long, but I think we're going to see some. I think Rick and Michonne, I think there's something going on there. I think we're going to see something from that, which I like. I would like to see. I did the video talking about Daryl, what's going to happen with him. I think they have to do something with him. You know, his fan base, is mostly comprised of women. Well, I shouldn't say that, but there's a good portion of women that are big fans of Daryl, and I think we have to see something with him this season after the whole Terminus thing is resolved. As well as some others too. I mean, of course, you've got Abraham Rosita. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of that. Bob and Sasha, I'm sure we'll see more of that. So yeah, there's always going to be relationships in The Walking Dead, and I'm sure we'll see some coming up this season. Maybe Tyrese can find love or something like that. That'd be cool. Somebody different from the ones that are just, kind of expected. Next question is from ZZPikachu, and he or she asks, who is the best showrunner of The Walking Dead so far? That's a loaded question. That's a tough one. Well, who's the most talented in terms of what they've done in their career? Frank Darabont, for sure. I mean, the Shawshank Redemption creator, all the things he's done, creating The Walking Dead from the get-go. I have to say Frank Darabont because he's the one that got the ball rolling. He started. He was like, okay, we've got this. This is what I want to do. I want to take Robert Kirkman's book, which was incredible, and I want to make a show with it. And I think this would be awesome. And then he talks about, like, if you watch the behind the scenes, about how the first episode is, we're not making a show, we're making a movie. And it's true because it's the same quality, better than a lot of movies. Like, most zombie movies are not as good a quality as the first episode of The Walking Dead, or the first few. So he, I got to go with Darabont. Even though he's got his own way of doing things and he shows things a little slower, and he kind of slows down that pace to kind of an older style, I like it better. I like it better. And, we got to see a lot of that character stuff. How he was really good for The Walking Dead. He was perfect for it because he put so much emphasis on the characters, the bonds they share. I'm talking the Shawshank Redemption. Have you ever seen an on-screen bond like the one in the Shawshank Redemption between Morgan Freeman's character and I forget the other gentleman's name who plays the protagonist? The bond they share is beautiful, and he created the same kind of thing with Shane and Rick, and they made a big mistake getting rid of him. I'll just say that they made a big mistake getting rid of him, not giving him what he needed, and the show's worked out without him, really, really well. But I would say he was the best one. Some people would say probably Scott Gimple because of how great season 4 was and how he really gives attention to some of the other characters that you wouldn't normally get, they wouldn't normally have attention on, which is true. He does do that, and his approach to it has been really dark. It's more been horror, more scary, that kind of thing. And then, of course, Glenn Mazzara, who did season 3 in the second half of season 2. He was like really action, oriented, and I really liked. Well, season 3 is my favorite season, so obviously I liked him a lot. So because the thing is, it's hard to say because yes, you have a showrunner, but there's so many different intricacies and things, the writing and all these different things that happen. It's like, okay, just because season 3 is my favorite, does that mean that Mazzara is my favorite showrunner? It's hard to say, but I would say the most talented showrunner undoubtedly has got to be Darabont, and I would have really liked to see what he would have done with season 3, season 4, season 5 had he have stayed on. I think it would have been probably even better than it ended up being. Granted, I don't think Mazzara or Gimple have done a bad job. They've both done a great job too. But it's not just a one-man show. There's so many people involved. You got Greg Nicotero. You've got, all the production people. We're talking hundreds of people here. What difference does one person really make? With the idea, the person who we should give the most credit to is Darabont, I would say. Him and, of course, Kirkman. But Kirkman is more of a writer, right? But Darabont, I think, is the one that deserves the credit for The Walking Dead. He is the one that we should think about when we're talking Walking Dead in terms of like a showrunner and a creator. He's the one who made it happen. So definitely him. We'll do one more, and then I'll cut it for a part 7, and I'll probably release that tomorrow. Okay, so the last question we'll do for today is from Austin Kasi, and he asks, Trev, in the season 4 finale, it zoomed in on a baby formula and powder when Rick was walking in the train car. Do you think it could be leading to something with baby juice? Did it? I don't think that's true. I thought it was powdered milk, and I don't think that necessarily means it is for a baby, because you could use that to feed basically anybody in a zombie apocalypse. Whatever you can find is good. They might be hinting to Tyrese and Carol and Judith already being there with something like that. That's very possible. But somehow they got to get out. They got to break out of there. So, well, I think we'll just have to wait and see, because I think they were one of the slower groups to get to Terminus, weren't they? I know they were at that Peachtree place, of course, with Mika and Lizzie, but then, episode after, and then another episode, the rest of the group got there. So they would have been close. So I could see it go either way. I could see them already being there and being trapped somewhere. But they did have a baby. So how would the people of Terminus react to that? That's hard to say. And also, yeah, we don't know. Well, I think we'll have to wait to see the trailer before we can kind of pinpoint their location. I think it's too open right now to say for sure. One way or another, it's too open. So I'll continue with the questions, part 7, I think tomorrow. Again, if you guys have video suggestions, send them to me. If you have more Q&A questions, go ahead and send them to me. And since I don't want the segments to go on for too long, I'll pretty much call it here for today. Thank you guys for watching. As always, if you like the video, feel free to thumb it up, like the video below. If you want to support the channel, favorite it, share it, whatever you want to do, and I'll call it here. For this Q&A answer segment video, guys. See you tomorrow for part 7. This is Trev, and I'm saying peace.